Hi all, let's have another wonderful aesthetic experience looking at the sacrifices of Mikhail Botvinnik. Mikhail Botvinnik was a PhD. He was born 1911 and he died May the 5th, 1995. He was a Soviet and Russian international grandmaster and 3 times world chess champion, widely considered as one of the greatest chess players of all time. This information is from Wiki, by the way. Working as an electrical engineer and computer scientist at the same time, he was one of the very few professional chess players who achieved distinction in another career while playing top-class competitive chess. He was also a pioneer of computer chess. Botvinnik was the first world-class player to develop within the Soviet Union, putting him under political pressure, but also giving him considerable influence within Soviet chess. From time to time, he was accused of using that influence to his own advantage, but the evidence is unclear, and some suggest he resisted attempts by Soviet officials to intimidate some of his rivals. He also played a major role in the organisation of chess, making a significant contribution to the design of the World Chess Championship system after World War II, and becoming a leading member of the coaching system that enabled the Soviet Union to dominate top-class chess during that time. His most famous pupils include world champions Anatoly Karpov, Garry Kasparov and Vladimir Kramnik. Let's look now at one of his most celebrated sacrifices against Capablanca. So before the start of World War II, the Avro tournament held in the Netherlands was one of the very strongest international tournaments up until that time. Capablanca, playing black, here played Queen E7. And here a remarkable move was played, which was even celebrated, I think, where cake was created from this position. Can you see what white played here? And we'll put on a kibitzer throughout this as well. Let's use stockfish. So white to play in this position. I hope most of you have seen this position. It is really one of the kind of classic sacrifice positions to be aware of. So if I give you 10 seconds to pause the video to have some thoughts. Stockfish, even at depth 26, by the way, has not found the move played here. Not yet, anyway. Remarkable, actually. Even depth 29, it's still not found it. It's one of the classic moves, which are now at depth 29 at 53. It finds the move. It actually finds Botvinnik's move at depth 29. It's a stockfish 5. So it actually has soundness, has been the best move. It's bishop a3. It's a drag and drop tactic, fundamentally, taking the queen out of the location of the king. If queen e8, if the bishop's not accepted, then this is horrible. Check. And where does the king go? If it goes here, bishop e7, it's apparently strong. Where can the knight go? It's big trouble for black in this position. So like this, check. It's horrible. So that can't be allowed. So actually the queen did take here, and now the point is revealed. Knight h5 check, so another piece sacrifice, but white is going to get at least one piece back now after takes. Check, getting a piece back, and a very strong passed pawn has emerged. The knight over here hasn't got too much influence yet, but you've got to factor in these checks as well for the king. So check. Okay, it's king j e7, allowing seemingly a bit of fun with these checks. But otherwise, how can the knight and queen actually stop this pawn? If, queen a4, then queen f8, checkmate. So basically this is big trouble. Kappa tries a check here, and in this position it doesn't matter about h4 check either, just king h3 is fine. Black tried queen d3, and now the white king ventures to h4, believe it or not. Queen e4 check, and white now munches that h5 pawn, which means now g4 will be used as a shield later. Check, And here in this position now g4 is possible as a shield. Check, and now here king h5, and black has run out of checks. Capablanca had to resign here. A remarkable sacrifice which really even modern engine technology is struggling to find. You really need to leave the position on for a bit to find this bishop a3. That really is an amazing sacrifice and very well calculated. That basically it shows actually that the power of the passed pawn in this position, how pieces away, even you know these distant passed pawns, white has to do something soon, otherwise black could potentially have good endgames here as well. So let's go on to another fantastic example. Okay. This is against Portisch in the Monte Carlo tournament of 1968. Mikhail Botvinnik playing white. Bishop f8 was played, and now we have rook ac1. So there's a certain amount of pressure here. White's building up pressure, and perhaps something like queen b5 is going to be useful soon, or just bishop c5 to exchange off here and put more pressure on c6 and d5. Black tries knight b8 to try and maybe block up this c file and offer a kind of trap for the rook. So if black plays c6, it might not be that bad. But surprisingly, can you guess what white plays in this position? If I give you 10 seconds here to pause the video. So white play here. Okay, rook takes c7 was played anyway, even though the rook seems to be potentially trappable with this next move, bishop c6. And it hits the queen, it disconnects the rooks. But white has this in mind. He plays now a shocker, a shocking continuation actually. Rook 1 takes c6. After b takes c, it's not to flee the rook here with rook b7, although this might be okay still. This might be okay for white. There's compensation here. There's a target here. Maybe this knight later can attack c6. It's not that clear. It's actually better for white, even that position. But the remarkableness of the game is further emphasized now with this next blow. Can you guess what white plays in this position? Okay, with that rook on the 7th, rook takes f7 is played. So can the king really take that? Well, if king takes, then check here is really dangerous. There's no queen d5 here because of this knight g5. That fianchetto bishop's ready to roll here if needed. And if king g6, this actually leads to big trouble as well with queen e4 check, and again knight g5. And this diagonal is just torture again because of here, say, well, there's queen here, or queen, even quicker, queen takes on h7 is checkmate. So this is big trouble, this position. So black here dare not take that rook. Another possibility, actually, king e7 is ruled out. I think just bishop g5, we could just win the queen very simply. That's simple. That's ruled out. So rook takes f7 was met now with h6. So clearly white is doing very well now for the initial exchange sack. Black's pieces are all on the first row basically here. They're all on the first row. White now plays rook b7. There's all sorts of possibilities now, like the check here could be dangerous, or even just knight h4. These weakened light squares look pretty dangerous. Black tries queen c8, and we have the check here. And now another fantastic move is played. Really, this is a fantastic game. White plays knight h4, allowing the rook to be taken there. You might think, what on earth? Well, okay, it's taken. We have check, king h7. Another point is revealed. The bishop e4 here is so powerful. There's no counterpart bishop. These combinations have a fundamental basis often to them. There's no counterpart light square bishop in this position. Black is really helpless here on the light squares, it seems, in this particular position. Black tries bishop d6. White plays knight takes e5. And it looks a little bit like the famous Spassky against Bronstein combination with weakened light squares. Now, if king h7, knight f7 will force the win of the queen. There's no other move. Black tries g6. After takes here, king g7. Another blow in this position, remarkable, taking away totally black's king safety. Can you guess the final move? Okay, bishop takes h6. Even more spectacular than just taking the rook. If taking here, black resigned actually now after bishop takes h6. If black takes on h6, check. King g7. Check. And we can actually just win the queen here. Queen takes b7. That queen is unfortunately a loose piece to be mopped up. And then attacking the rook, threatening mate as well. So that would lead to further loss of material. It would be just too much material lost, really. A remarkable game, you must agree. From here, this is amazing. Doubling up rooks to purposely have a rook trapped, to do an exchange sack, a rook sack, and then later leaving another rook hanging after knight h4, bringing this bishop to bear on black's king. It's actually a really remarkable, instructive combination, and the fundamental features which make it possible are interesting to study, really. Just stripping away all of black's king safety. If king f6, another possibility, then check here is a mate in 4, like this, for example. And queen c4 check, and then f4. Amazing stuff. Let's go on to another fantastic example now, against Vitaly Chekhover, played in Moscow 1935. Black had just played h6 in this position, and Mikhail Botvinnik now increases the dynamic potential of all his pieces with this next move. Can you guess it? If I give you 10 seconds to pause the video here. This game has been covered in detail actually in another video on this channel. So white to play here. He plays knight g5. Knight g5. It wrenches open this f file. If black doesn't take it, then white's going to just take on f7. Black takes that. F takes g, wrenching open that f file. Knight goes to d7. This one, trying to neutralise white's attack. But white is not just interested in taking on f6, although that is still strong. White takes on f7, damaging black's king safety even further. King takes. Now g6 check. White has a very, very strong position, and this is still very good for white. Technically there might have been something better actually, just queen h5, and this is covered in detail in this specific game video elsewhere on the channel. Rook takes f6 apparently is really, really quite crushing, like this, for example. With rook f1, we have still two bishops, a rook and queen on the rampage here, with white now threatening bishop g6, and very, very strong pressure. For example, just to give an example, like check, check, this would force the win of the queen. Saying if king e8, check, this is just horrible for black. It's absolutely horrible. So anyway, so this might not be the most incisive way of doing it, g6, but let's see what happens now. Queen takes e6. You see, this move was a bit of a blunder, a major blunder, technically, king g8. King f8 was actually a way of remarkably trying to hold on, as actually a remarkable resource here of queen takes e5, knight e5, defending against that f7. If takes here, it gets really remarkable with check. And then taking here to protect f7. It's a computer defense, but actually black would potentially be doing very well here. So this shows that black's made this critical mistake now. king g8, which makes things a lot easier now. I have to check here, check, bishop f5, bishop e6 check. So black's king safety has really had it here. Check. Now taking away another defender with rook takes f6. That h7 now is marked more clearly for white's attack. Check. And now cutting the king for a moment. Bit of respite, but threatening mate in 1 like this, or mate in 2 like this. Bishop e5 was played. This now carries on this attack with check, and then using the pin, queen takes e5. It's a classic king hunt scenario. d5 check, the king is coming out. It can't survive this, surely. Check, check, and no, it's terminated now. Queen b1, checkmate. A spectacular game. There might have been an easier path, but still, it's the aesthetic beauty which often counts in these brilliant games. This was very aesthetically pleasing. Okay, let's go on to another example. This is Botvinnik against Milan Vidmar, played in the Nottingham tournament of 1936. Rook takes f5 was played, and this became a classic example in middle game books about play with the isolated queen's pawn, because white played for f4, f5 earlier, trying to undermine black's d5, and black played a horrific blunder here, basically queen d6. It's a position where black is under pressure here. The isolated queen's pawn has actually given white's pieces a lot of pressure points. For example, even taking here apparently, and then g4 might actually be quite dangerous. Say h6, taking g4 apparently is okay. Even with this isolated queen's pawn, there's pressure points here. For example, like this, and then we see rook takes f7. So black is under great pressure. He tries queen d6, and now can you see what white played in this position? I'll give you 10 seconds to pause the video here, starting from now. Okay, white played knight takes f7. There's a few points to this. This bishop is emphasised on the diagonal. This queen is emphasised looking at c8 in some variations, where the rook is not protecting that rook. And in fact here, okay, let's demonstrate. If king takes, which wasn't played, then bishop takes, say bishop takes, then rook takes. That's horrible. So anyway, rook takes was played. Now we have bishop takes, and now rook takes d5. So it looks at this as well as hitting the queen. Queen c6. And now we have rook d6. So the queen is trying to be deflected from protecting c8, and we've still got that horrendous pin on f7. We have queen e8. And now a really crushing final move, just emphasising the pin here, just rook d7. Black is helpless on these light squares. So we've seen this in an earlier example where black hasn't got the light square bishop. There's a fundamental basis for these combinations. It's like having an extra piece on that colour complex. Black is just helpless on f7 in this particular position. The check could be totally ignored. Actually here we're just king h1, leaving black still helpless, going to lose that rook. So black resigned here. A classic example for isolated queen's pawn play. And here now is one of the very famous, most famous I think, games from the USSR versus USA radio match in 1945. And this really established the Soviet Union as a major force in chess. And the variation it came from came to be known as the Botvinnik variation of the Slav defense. Very, very sharp theoretical variation. And black enjoys h-file pressure here. Enormous h-file pressure. And queen d6 simply is not so subtle. It threatens not just queen takes g3, but also something else is possible now, especially after White's next move in this position. White played Queen f4. It's a very, very difficult position already, actually, because of this h file pressure and these glaring bishops. The king, you know, is on h1 here, just already very restricted. The pawn on d3 is a menace as well. So black, out of this very dynamic variation, has huge trump cards. So this next move is a quick loss, but there's not much better to do in this position than Queen f4. Can you see what Mikhail Botvinnik played? And pardon me, we'll flip the board to have it from Mikhail's perspective, Mikhail Botvinnik's perspective. So black to play here, what would you play in this position? Okay, I hope you can spot it. It's a powerful forcing move. Rook takes h2, just bringing the king out to that location. It's just slaughter time. If bishop h4 now, unfortunately, then the queen could just drop. Queen takes f4. It's a total disaster. It's totally lost here. White would have to try giving up the queen. I think actually this might have been played. In fact, takes, and after Queen f4, now White's resigned. There's actually a double attack on these two bishops, so black's even getting more material after King h3. Just Queen takes c4. But as I say, the initial position is just absolutely terrible for White here in any case. So Queen d6, just looking at that h file, very, very logical outcome now. This h file attack of the trump cards built up from the opening, which became to be known as the Botvinnik variation, as I say, of the Slav defense. A razor sharp variation where White had earlier sacrificed on g5 and black had castled queenside. Okay, so let's see another fantastic example. Botvinnik again playing black here. Plays now bishop takes f1 in this position and is currently the exchange down for one pawn. If we count the pawns, the exchange down for one pawn. Now White should have played in this position taking here, and apparently this isn't too much better for black. For example, bishop here, there's a bit of fight left in this game. For example, like this, there's a little bit of fight left, but White actually played rook c takes f1, and now a remarkable move. Can you guess what black plays in this position? And it's really, engines love it. It's absolutely fantastic for black after this next move. If I give you 10 seconds to pause video here. So this is Leningrad 1931. Yurgis was the opponent playing White. So Botvinnik to play in this position. Starting from now, can you find it? Okay. Rook c4. First of all, this bishop c5 is a resource now, but also these passed pawns are maintained, and two connected passed pawns are really a fantastic thing to get. Two connected passed pawns. White is threatening c1, and if, say, rook c1, ignoring the rook, taking the rook, then bishop c5 is still very, very strong here. We still get this passed pawn scenario. So let's look at the variation of the game, which was just taking immediately, and we transpose into bishop c5. So White is simply threatening b3, b2, and then queening. That pins. White unpins with king g2. That rook is simply taken. It doesn't matter about rook c1, there's b3. It doesn't matter about taking here, there's still b3. The two passed pawns are worth their weight in gold now. White's too slow to queen or anything. Rook c1 is answered by b2. White has to resign here. This is just not defendable. The king is too far away. King e2, just b2. And we can actually just queen this pawn. Choice that we don't have to use c1. Effectively, we use c1, then White's winning. So we use b1. And then black's winning. So a neat little move. Rook c4 there. Very nice. Emphasizing the power of connected passed pawns. Now let's go on to another example. Botvinnik actually playing White here, against Paul Keres. For me, there's a little bit of controversy surrounding the Botvinnik-Keres games in general, because horrible thing happened, World War II, and Keres was playing in some very controversial tournaments during World War II, and his country was actually in trouble as well. After that, there's speculations that Keres was encouraged not to try to win too hard sometimes against Botvinnik. But this was in 1966. This was well after those times. And Keres had played f5 here, protecting his h-pawn, and so seemingly robbing White of that delicious opportunity to try for the crude mate on h7. But that dream is realised actually by this next move, simple and strong. Can you guess it if I give you 10 seconds to pause the video, starting from now? Okay, rook b8. Really, that queen is being deflected here, and this forces Black's resignation. It's just a total disaster. You don't want to do this. White just takes there anyway, just leaving that rook there. If takes here, then this is a mate in two. That pawn and the knight here cover these two escape root squares. So in this position, queen h8 is checkmate. That's the big problem. This is a fantastic thing to get the queen to h7. Queen takes queen takes h4. The best Black can do is just do a spite check or two. This is just hopeless. This is still mating with the same sort of mechanism. This check and the check here. So rook b8 is just very, very powerful drag and drop tactic away from protecting h4. Absolutely winning on the spot, really. Black resigned. Okay, the last example I'd like to show you in this particular video. There might be another video of more sacrifices in the future of Botvinnik. Mikhail Botvinnik was playing Black, and he played the Nimza Indian, and he reached this dominating attacking position where Black is already doing very, very well here, exceptionally well. In fact, this is winning already in this position. Seems by force. Queen h5 was played. Technically, it might even be stronger apparently to play queen h4. The engine's are saying this is even stronger. Same sort of ideas behind it, but preventing certain of White's resources. But queen h5, and Black has a very, very nasty threat here. White plays e4, and can you see what Black plays in this position? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. So this was Abramovic playing White. This is a 1924 game actually, quite early on in Botvinnik's career. Queen takes h2. So the young Botvinnik playing queen takes h2 is a nice little combination finish. So if king takes, well, White resigned. Just it's a forced little mate here. Clear cuts, forcing moves, basically. White is in big trouble in any case. In this position, apparently best is bishop f1, and so this would actually mean this is possible here because of bishop h3. So that's why I think queen h4 technically. I think the young Botvinnik though, this was good for Botvinnik and his age in this game. But queen h4 instead is even more clear cut. Because after bishop f1, we have here, there's a really crushing move, a mate in 6 move. Can you spot it in this position, in this particular variation? What would you play here with Black? Quite cute, really. Forced mate in 6. Switching gear a bit to a different theme. Okay, rook h6, offering the queen like this, is a forced mate. So if g takes, check, bishop g2, check. Now if king h1, rook g3 is checkmate, and if king f1, black has time to play rook takes h2 here. This rook and bishop like this are winning. It was a winning position anyway. It was a totally winning attack, but it's interesting to see the technical resources to really spell out the forced mate here. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little tour of Botvinnik's sacrifices. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.